You're listening to News Talk 710 KURV. I'm very excited to learn how to just maybe help our gut and help the bacteria that are in our gut, the best and worst belly habits that can make or break your health status. If everything we eat passes through our gut, it makes sense to develop some best practices when it comes to our bellies and ditch the habits that are causing commotion. In the gut, there are hundreds of species of bacteria. Some are friendly and some not so good. Joining us on 710 KURV is James LaValle. He is a clinical pharmacist, board-certified clinical nutritionist, author of more than 20 books, and our guest on 710 KURV. James, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Now, I guess my first question to you is, since you're the expert, how important is our gut health to our overall health?
Well, I mean, it literally is at the center of your health. When you think of it, 70% of your immune system is in your gut.
Ooh.
How you process hormones occurs in your gut and is related to your microbiome or the good flora in your gut. How you utilize your minerals, so how you absorb nutrients, actually is all dictated by what's going on with those beneficial flora in your gut. So my book and 38 years of practice, I work on everybody's gut.
Wow. You mentioned 70% of what is in our gut? I missed that first part.
Your immune system. So your immune system, which, everybody's worried about coronavirus today, and obviously so, but, your first defense against anything that's trying to attack you is a good, healthy immune system, and it all starts in your gut.
What can we do to make sure that we have a good, healthy gut?
Well, there's several things. One is make sure you're eating foods that are high in prebiotics, meaning foods that feed your beneficial flora. So things like artichoke, oatmeal, and I'm not a big fan on too many carbs, but, oatmeal, yeah, that's good. Apples, green leafy vegetables. I mean, super important that you get the green leafy vegetables in. Fibers like chia seed, all of those kind of things are important to incorporate into your diet. And what you don't want to do is eat a lot of refined sugar, eat too many carbs that end up being fermenting in your gut.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, is it gluten, is it dairy? Yeah, people have food intolerances and allergies. And if, you're not figuring it out, you could actually do a blood test to help figure that out.
I need to.
Yeah. And then obviously, if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, it damages your microbiome. If you're a cigarette smoker, it damages your microbiome. If you're on the keto craze and you are eating tons of saturated fat, high saturated fat diets definitely disrupt the microbiome. So if you're going to be on a ketogenic diet and you like the way you feel on it, well, you better be adding some extra fiber and making sure that you're taking some probiotics to go with it. And then obviously there's a lot of different drugs, not just antibiotics. Ibuprofen, so the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are a big problem. The acid-blocking medications are a big problem. In fact, 25% of the drugs on the market that are prescribed are thought to disrupt the microbiome.
Wow.
So this is a big, it's a big issue. So the things you do to help it, I mentioned what foods, and then exercise. It sounds weird, but if you exercise, you have better flora diversity, meaning you have better growth of the friendly flora in your gut than if you don't exercise. And it doesn't matter whether you exercise hard, even intermediate or lighter exercise, which they showed in a group of women and they measured the diversity of their gut. Even in exercising as little as 3 times a week can make a huge difference on the gut. So that's important. And I think a lot of times, sometimes we think if we just change our diet, it's going to work. But a lot of times what I do with people is I give them nutrients to, first of all, wipe out the bad bugs. So I'll use different herbs like berberine or cat's claw that really help with wiping out those. And then more importantly, there was a great probiotic study done on something called the Friendly Trio. It's actually a probiotic called Chiodophilus. And it actually showed that it reduced allergy symptoms, cold and flu symptoms, and reduced gastric distress. And that was in humans, because I don't have any rats coming into my clinic. I kind of have to make sure they're human studies. And so I really like that particular probiotic, especially in cases like yours where, hey, I've tried eating all the right stuff, I'm exercising. The third one, it's important to understand, is stress. That when you get under stress, and they showed this, in college students, I've heard about it even in the astronaut studies, where when you're under stress, your beneficial flora, kind of start to disappear.
Wow.
And so the more you can manage your stress, whether it's doing yoga, doing deep breathing, doing, some sort of mindfulness, manage that stress, and the diversity of the colon flora comes back. So when you think about it, it's eat, move, chill. And then it's, well, what do I take? And I think taking a solid probiotic with human studies behind it, it's, room temperature stable so you don't keep forgetting about it while it's in the fridge. All of those pieces are important. And then it's really developing a lifestyle that says, hey, you know what? I do have to eat better. And because in general, people eat, I always say, and people eat too much, they eat too often, they pick the wrong foods, they eat too late, they don't exercise enough, and they don't get enough sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start off there, it's going to be an uphill battle to really get the vitality that you deserve.
Joining us on 710 KURV is James LaValle. He is a clinical pharmacist, board-certified clinical nutritionist, and author of more than 20 books talking about how the best and worst belly habits that can make or break your health status. Earlier, you mentioned that 70% of our immune system is in our gut, and you mentioned 3 things that can kind of help us eat, move, and chill. But right now you mentioned sleep. How can sleep affect our gut if it does at all?
Oh, this is what's amazing. Our body runs. It's so funny because in Chinese medicine, they talked about our body running on a clock. Now we're finally in modern medicine in the 21st century saying, oh my God, there's something to a circadian rhythm that you're supposed to get up in the morning. You're supposed to go to bed in the evening. And when you go to bed later and you cheat your sleep, it actually creates more inflammatory compounds in your body and influences the diversity of your intestinal flora. So that they showed when either people disrupted your circadian rhythm by going to bed later and then not getting enough sleep, they could show that the good flora was reduced and more of the unfriendly flora starts to increase. Because that's, we're kind of in a community down there, right? You got all these hundreds of different, bugs that are really trying to help us. But what happens is the more we eat the wrong foods, make the wrong choices, get under stress, don't sleep, maybe take a lot of different drug therapies, the more we do those things, we start to disrupt that microflora. And when it gets disrupted, now our immune system starts to kind of get more pro-inflammatory. So when you look at the Harvard study showing that maybe autoimmunity may actually start in the gut, that's why this is so important to understand that getting sleep, getting good fiber, choosing the right foods, moving your body, all can have a really big impact on a healthy belly.
And it's so important. You mentioned it again. The one thing that stood out to me the most is that 70% of our immune system is in our gut. That's insane. Do you have a website or a Facebook page anywhere that someone can go get more information?
They can go to jimlavelle.com, and then for probiotic information, go to probiotic.com. I actually am a contributing writer on that. So probiotics.com or jimlavelle.com.
Thank you so much, James. I appreciate your insight. That is James LaValle. He is a clinical pharmacist, board-certified clinical nutritionist, author of more than 20 books, and our guest on 710 KURV.